Here's a simple X-ray shader that uses one node, two images, and one shader, and gives you the ability to adjust shape, radius, and the softness of the edges, depending on what kind of look you're looking for. So let's jump in right away. We're going to need two images, one of the inside of the objects you want to X-ray and one of the outside. And it's very important, they're on transparent background and they're the exact same size. And in my case, and this is going to be important later, these are both made in exactly a 9:16 ratio. With both images, inside and outside, in our project, we're going to have our node 2D. We're going to add a sprite 2D of the outside of the refrigerator. And on that, we're going to add a shader. And in that shader, we are going to use this script. It's going to be a canvas item, which lets us know that it's working with 2D items. We are going to make a uniform sample 2D, which is going to be our inside text. We're going to have a vec2, which is going to be our circle position. We're going to have a float that's the radius of our circle. We're going to have the float that's the feather, or how soft our edges are. And then to make sure that our circle, in my case, is round, since I'm using a 9:16, we're going to have a place where you can put the aspect ratio of your image. We're going to use a void fragment, which basically just means it's going to run on every single pixel. We're going to create a variable of our UV, and then this is the code that makes sure my circle is right. It creates the aspect ratio, which is going to be a parameter in our shader, so you can set it to whatever you want for your image. Then we are correcting the UV, and then we create the circle based off of that UV, and we're going to use the circle position here in a minute to make the circle follow the mouse. Then we're going to have our float, which is the distance between our UV and the circle. Everything inside the circle is going to be transparent, and we'll see the inside. Everything outside of the circle we won't. We set our door color as the texture of the 2D image that this shader is used on. We set the inside color. Again, this is a variable where we're going to drag in the picture of the image that's going to be the inside, and then we create our float mask, which makes our soft edges, and we take the radius of our circle and subtract out the feathering int, which again is an exporter parameter in our shader. And then we're just going to mix the door, the inside of the door, and apply that mask, and it's going to give us the X-ray. Over here you see it's created these shader perimeters. I dragged over the inside of my refrigerator. I just have a starting position of 0.5, 0.5, which puts me in the center of the image. The radius in this case I'm using a 0.1. The feather I'm using a 0.05, and then I've entered my aspect ratio for my image, which is 9:16. And then all that's left is to put a script on our image, and basically we're going to create an onReady variable that is a shader material, and then we're going to, in the process delta, we are going to get the mouse location, we're going to localize it, and then we're going to set the circle position parameter in our shader based on the location of our mouse. And when we play,